There are people right now using the same antimicrobial substance that Roman soldiers used to keep their water from going bad on campaign, the same one that doctors relied on before penicillin existed, the same one that hospital wound dressings are still coated with today, and most of them have no idea they can make it themselves at home in an afternoon with a setup that costs somewhere around $15 to $20 and fits in a shoebox. We are going to show you exactly how to do that before this video is done, including what to buy, where to buy it, and what it will cost you. Stay with me, because the context matters before the how-to lands properly. It is called colloidal silver. And here's the thing that should reframe everything else you are about to hear. In 2020, antibiotics were not over the counter. They required a prescription, a doctor's visit, a functioning healthcare system. Colloidal silver does not require any of that. Once you know how to make it, you have it, and you will never not have it. That is not hypothetical. That is a meaningful difference in how dependent you are on systems that have already demonstrated they can fail you. Here is what it actually is. Colloidal silver is nothing more than particles of silver. Nanometer scale, smaller than you can see, suspended in water. That is the entire product. No additives, no chemicals, no preservatives. Silver and water. The word colloidal simply means the particles are small enough to stay evenly distributed without sinking. The same principle that keeps fat suspended in milk instead of separating out. What makes silver at that particle size special is that it becomes extremely reactive to single-celled organisms. It interferes with the enzymes that bacteria, fungi, and certain viruses need to function. It disrupts their ability to replicate. It does this without the mechanism of resistance that makes bacteria adapt to antibiotics over time. Silver has been doing this for thousands of years, and bacteria have not figured out how to evolve around it because silver is not a drug. It is a metal. Ancient Greeks stored wine and water in silver vessels. Roman soldiers dropped silver coins into their canteens. Doctors in the 1800s used silver nitrate on burns and infected wounds because it worked. Before penicillin was discovered, colloidal silver was one of the primary antimicrobial treatments physicians had available. It was not fringe medicine, it was the medicine. Then antibiotics came along, faster and more targeted and enormously profitable, and silver got set aside. Not because it stopped working, because the business model changed. Not all colloidal silver is the same, and this distinction matters before you buy or make anything. There are three types. True colloidal silver is actual silver particles suspended in water, typically golden yellow to amber in color, and is generally considered the highest quality form. Ionic silver, the most common thing sold in stores, looks completely clear because it contains silver ions dissolved in the water rather than actual particles. It is effective, but ionic silver can bind to chloride compounds in your body and become less available where you need it. Then there is silver protein, which binds silver to a protein carrier, usually gelatin, foams when you shake it, and is generally the lowest quality of the three. That is also the product responsible for nearly every Argyria case you have ever heard about. The bluish-gray skin discoloration that gets raised whenever this topic comes up. Argyria is real. It is also almost entirely associated with silver protein products consumed in massive quantities over long periods, not with responsible use of quality colloidal or ionic silver. Know what you're using. Now here is where the real story is, and it is the part that gets the least attention in conversations about colloidal silver because most people fixate on the internal use debate. The external applications are where the evidence is strongest, the history is longest, and where the practical value for most people is going to show up most often. Your skin is your largest organ, and it is also your first line of defense against exactly the kind of pathogens silver is effective against. When that barrier gets compromised, a cut, a burn, a scrape, an infected follicle, a wound that is not healing the way it should, what you put on it matters enormously. And what hospitals have been putting on serious wounds for decades is silver. Modern medical-grade wound dressings are impregnated with silver, not because of tradition, because controlled studies confirmed what battlefield surgeons figured out empirically 2 centuries ago. Silver-treated wounds have significantly lower rates of infection, reduced inflammation, and faster healing than untreated wounds. The mechanism is exactly what you would expect. Silver disrupts bacterial colonization on the wound surface, prevents biofilm formation, the protective layer bacteria build to resist treatment, and does it without damaging the surrounding tissue the way harsh antiseptics like iodine or hydrogen peroxide can. A dilute colloidal silver solution applied to a minor cut or burn does the same thing at home that those hospital dressings are doing in a clinical setting. You spray it on, or apply it with a clean cloth, and it creates an antimicrobial environment on the wound surface while the skin heals underneath. No stinging, no tissue damage, no brown staining. People who have switched from conventional wound care to colloidal silver for everyday cuts and scrapes tend not to go back because the results are visible and the experience is noticeably different. Burns are where it gets particularly significant. Silver sulfatazine cream has been the standard of care for burn wounds for decades, used in burn units around the world because it controls the bacterial colonization that makes serious burns life-threatening. Colloidal silver is not silver sulfatazine, but the underlying mechanism, silver ions creating an antimicrobial barrier on damaged tissue, is the same. For minor burns at home, a colloidal silver spray used alongside conventional care is not a folk remedy. It is a scaled-down version of what burn medicine has been doing professionally for 50 years. Skin infections are another area where this gets genuinely useful. Impetigo, infected ingrown hairs, minor abscesses, inflamed pores heading somewhere bad. These are all bacterial events happening on or just below the skin surface. Topical colloidal silver applied consistently to the affected area can interrupt that process without the antibiotic resistance implications that come with topical antibiotic creams, which are already contributing to the resistance problem that is quietly becoming one of the more serious issues in modern medicine. Fungal infections respond well too, which surprises people because they associate silver primarily with bacteria. Silver has documented antifungal properties. Athlete's foot, nail fungus, ringworm, these are all fungal colonizations of skin tissue. And silver disrupts fungal cell function through the same general mechanism it uses on bacteria. Nail fungus in particular is notoriously difficult to treat because conventional antifungals struggle to penetrate the nail bed. Consistent topical application of colloidal silver directly to the nail and surrounding tissue over weeks is something a meaningful number of people report success with when pharmaceutical options have not worked. Eye and ear applications are where people often hesitate because it feels more serious than skin, but colloidal silver has a longer documented history of ophthalmic use than almost any other antimicrobial. Silver nitrate was standard in newborn eye care for much of the 20th century to prevent bacterial infection at birth. Dilute colloidal silver used as an eye rinse for conjunctivitis or dropped into an ear for an infection that is clearly bacterial in origin follows that same lineage. The concentration matters. This is not something you do with a high parts per million solution, but at the concentrations a home batch typically produces, it is the same category of application that medicine used routinely before pharmaceutical alternatives became the default. Oral use is worth mentioning because the antimicrobial logic holds, and the systemic exposure is minimal when used as a rinse. People use it for gum infections, mouth sores, and dental abscesses. You swish and spit, and the silver does its work on the bacterial environment in the mouth without going much further. Swallowing it moves you into more contested territory and more limited research. So we will leave that conversation where it belongs, in your own hands, with your own due diligence. Now, here's how you make it. And here is what it will actually cost you, because this is the part most videos either skip entirely or bury at the end. You need 3 things. Pure silver wire. And the purity specification matters here. You want 0.9999 fine, which is 4 nines, not 3. 4 nines silver is 10 times purer than 0.999, which sounds pedantic until you consider that whatever trace metals are in the wire are going into your water. On Amazon, a set of 2 6-inch rods of 0.9999 pure silver wire in 12 gauge, which is the thickness most people use, runs somewhere between $15 and $25 depending on the seller. Search for 9,999 pure silver wire colloidal silver, and you will find several options. The rods last an extremely long time. People report using the same pair for years before they wear down enough to replace. The second thing you need is distilled water. Not filtered, not spring, not purified. Distilled. The minerals dissolved in any other water will react with the silver during electrolysis and contaminate your batch. A gallon of distilled water at any grocery store is about $1. That gallon makes multiple batches. The third thing is a power source. The standard home setup is 3 9-volt batteries wired in series, which gives you 27 volts of direct current. 3 9-volt batteries will run you about $5 or $6 at any hardware or grocery store. You also need 3 battery snap connectors and 2 Alligator clip leads to wire them together and attach to the silver. A 5-pack of 9-volt snap connectors with Alligator clips built in is available on Amazon for around $6 to $8. So the total startup cost for everything, silver wire, batteries, connectors, and a gallon of distilled water, lands right around $20 to $30, depending on which silver wire listing you go with. After that, the only ongoing cost is replacing batteries every several batches and buying distilled water by the gallon. The setup itself is straightforward. Submerge both silver wires into a glass of distilled water, leaving the tops out. Wire your 3 batteries in series, positive to negative, so the voltage stacks to 27 volts. Clip 1 wire to positive, 1 to negative. The current does the rest. Silver migrates off the positive wire and into the water through electrolysis. After 20 to 30 minutes, you have a batch. Warmer water at room temperature produces more actual particles and less ionic silver. A laser pointer, which you may already own or can pick up for a few dollars, is the simplest way to confirm what you made. Shine it through the liquid in a dark room. If you can see the beam, silver particles are present and scattering the light. That is the Tyndall effect, and it means you made true colloidal silver. No visible beam means you have primarily ionic silver. Both are useful. Knowing which you have tells you what you are working with. For topical use, a small spray bottle is your best friend. Spray directly onto wounds, burns, skin irritations, or affected areas, and let it air dry or cover with a clean dressing. For eyes and ears, use a dropper bottle and keep the concentration at 10 parts per million or less. Store your finished batches in a dark glass bottle away from light, which can cause particles to clump and fall out of suspension over time. Made and stored correctly, a batch stays active for months. The silver wire costs around $20 and lasts years. The batteries run a few dollars per round of batches. The distilled water is $1 a gallon. The external applications alone, wound care, burns, skin infections, fungal issues, eye and ear support, cover a range of situations most households encounter multiple times a year, and you will handle all of them with a spray bottle you filled yourself for essentially nothing. Silver has been antimicrobial for several thousand years. We have had antibiotics for less than 100. Bacteria have not developed resistance to silver in all that time. They have developed resistance to most major classes of antibiotics within decades of their introduction. That is not an argument against modern medicine. It is an argument for not treating a substance with a multi-thousand-year track record as a fringe curiosity when its mechanism is different, its history is longer, and your ability to produce it at home removes every dependency that makes pharmaceutical options vulnerable. A spool of silver wire and a few 9-volt batteries fit, see, in a drawer. What they can't produce has been healing wounds since before anyone had a word for infection. Now you know, and you won't forget it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.